fire station construction work. Amen.
Yep. What we're bringing to the commission is, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. That's you see, got me up looking crazy now. Okay. City of Ben Arbor City Hall and Fire Station were built in the early 1900s, specifically 1937. Over the years, technology and equipment have changed tremendously. Staff investigated possibly expanding the doors of the fire station to accommodate the current and future fire apparatuses. In November 2018, the city received bids for the proposed work. 3 bids were received for the project from Calaward Construction, Pearson Construction, and Rogo Construction. Rogo Construction was the low bidder on the proposed project in the amount of $146,200. Funding for this project is available in the 2018-19 Permanent Public Improvement Budget. Recommendation that the Personnel and Finance Committee recommends to the full commission the awarding of the contract for overhead door work at the fire station in the amount of $146,200. And like I said, this facility was built in 1937, and back then, fire trucks and stuff was a little bit smaller. Right. As time has progressed, we have the industry, things have gotten bigger, and so ours is set basically at the 1937, early 1900s sizing. So Deputy Director Phelps got some pictures so you can kind of see what we're dealing with as it relates to the fire bay doors downstairs. So if Mr. Duncan, thank you.
So what we have here, the first picture is, this is standing on the steps coming into the firehouse, looking down at the apparatus as it comes in, just so you can see how tight this is. Just so you know that when we back in, we can't back in straight. We have to come in at an angle due to the steps and just the spacing as we come in. And I apologize, these pictures are kind of got to jump around because my thumb drive got a little hairy on me today. This picture is engine 5.3 coming out. You can see how close this is the driver's side mirror, so it gives you an idea of the clearances that we're looking at. We're looking at about 2 inches of clearance to come out on either side. And that's just the mirrors. We also have intakes that come off the pump panel that stick out a little bit that we have to worry about. And so this somewhat slows our response time. Well, it does slow our response time down because we have to cautiously come out of there so we're not damaging the fire apparatus. Next picture. This just shows that part of this, the front part is sinking a little bit. This is the driver's side of ladder 55, so the center door on the west side as you're looking at it from the road. This is the bottom, and you can see at the very bottom there how it's bowed out. That's because of the settling of the building. So if we're able to do this project with the shoring up and the widening of the doors, it's going to help with this settling project. And give us more life out of the station. This is another picture at another angle of that same shot, same side of the door, so you can see the buckling a little bit better. Just gives you an idea of how it's buckling. This is on the other side of the door. You can see the warp, and this is not because it's been struck. This is because the building is settling a little bit. So you can see the warp at the bottom and about halfway up. This is in the engine bay, so this is the eastern door closest to City Hall. On the driver's side, as you're looking out, you can see at the bottom again how it's pushing out both outside and inside as it's settling. And this is the passenger side closest to City Hall. Again, you can see the significant settling in the building. This again is just that same set of stairs. This is just with our exhaust tube hooked up. So you can see, the other thing you can see in the upper left, see how that sticks out? That's kind of a protective measure for us there. That decreases our ability by about 3 inches as we're backing in, so it makes it extremely difficult for us to back in. With the widening of the doors, the proposed widening would be about 2 feet per door. This would give us significant room to maneuver the apparatus as we're backing in. in a picture here in just a second. I believe it's this one. Yeah, this is the ladder truck coming out. There's less than an inch clearance on the mirrors on both sides. Now, both the ladder truck and the engine are significant pieces of equipment in the firefighting arsenal for us. If we were to go to River Terrace, Harbor Towers, God forbid we have a good structure fire in either one of those, it takes significant time to get this out because of those clearances. So with the proposed work, this would give us significant more room to get out, so we would be able to get out a lot faster. There's a close-up. That's the passenger side mirror. That's the most clearance that we have on that. This is the driver's side mirror. So you can see we're about an inch or less clearance going out.
After we fold them back.
Yeah.
We gotta fold them back to get out.
There's just more, this is on the outside looking in. This is the engines, no, this is the ladder truck's bay. No, I take that back, I'm sorry, it is the engine bay, closest to City Hall. Again, just the tightness coming in. More damage, this is the middle bay. And that's just more, that's the part I told you about earlier with the, and there's the driver's side coming out with the ladder truck. So those are the pictures. I just wanted to show you, to give you an idea how long it takes us to get the ladder truck out. I'm going to show you a quick video. This is Detective Harmon pulling this out. Seasoned operator of this piece of apparatus, probably the most seasoned operator that we have in the department, and you can see how long it takes him to pull this piece of apparatus out of the station. So what I'd like you to do is I'd just like you to envision, as you're watching this short video, that is your house that's on fire, and we're responding to your fire, and how long it takes us to get out of the building. So he has to ease out. First thing we're looking at is getting those mirrors out without doing any damage to the mirrors, because I don't like to see the damage memos, neither does the director. He's coming out, he's making sure that we don't catch anything on the side. Now that he's out, now we have to worry about the ladder in the back. So we have to come all the way out to the street before he can turn left or right. So you can see this was 30 seconds that the video took for us to get out of the apparatus. Fires double in size every 10 seconds. So we just tripled the size of the fire, and we haven't left the station yet. With the widening of the doors, we can cut that down by a third for our response time to pull out. We will be able to pull out of there in approximately 10, maybe 15 seconds with the additional width, because we wouldn't have to worry about not taking mirrors off or other additional equipment as we're pulling out of the station. It's my recommendation that you approve the resolution so that we can widen these doors. This will give us about approximately 10 more years of life out of the station. Because I don't believe we have funding for a new station. Those new stations are about $4 to $6 million right now. And I'm not certain we've got that sitting around somewhere. Pretty certain we don't.
Thank you.
Mr. Dunn, thank you.
First question, City Manager Watson, how would this be funded? What's coming out?
We have a budget of what's called a permanent public improvement.
Mm-hmm.
What public permanent improvement is for things of this nature, for structures that are that the city has. We can't do a maintenance thing on it, but we can do modifications, or we could do construction if necessary. It's not a fund that has, as the Deputy Director said, $4 to $6 million in it, but it is enough that can handle this this job on this project.
Now, we got a new fire truck coming too, right?
Correct.
Is that, I'm sure it's a bigger one than.
No. The biggest concern for these is the ladder truck, because again, it literally, the mirrors are folded in and it's coming out, and you've got a lot of tail behind it. It is, when you back that truck in, you'd have to honestly see it, because the hose that sits on the ladder literally is up against the wall. So they're backing in at an angle and kind of feathering as they get toward the back. We can accommodate the issue of the length. We need the width right now, though.
It hampers, the response time too.
It does. It does. If you don't mind, it's even to the point where some operators are a little nervous about even backing it back in.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not
I'm not doing it.
I can tell you, I've been driving fire trucks for 34 years and I refuse to back that in.
You gotta get it just right too.
I leave it to Detective Harmon or one of the other guys, and like I say, I've been driving all sizes fire trucks, ladder trucks bigger than the one we have here, engine companies, and I will not back it in. That's how tight how tight it is to get it back in there.
So this project is just for the garage, both doors, right?
all three.
It would be all three.
Yeah.
All three doors.
All three.
And when you go out, if you look at it where it steps out the light colored sandstone, what they would do is remove that out to the brick face,
Mhm.
and then they would put steel on the inside, and then a beam across the top to support it.
Yeah.
We raise it up to?
No, we would actually lose about 8 inches of height,
Mhm.
but that won't affect the ladder truck and it won't affect the engines pulling in and
Just the
out.
width.
It's the width.
Yes,
Yeah.
So it'd still be 3 doors?
correct.
Yeah, one of the things we found out is that the gray part is not structural.
Mhm.
It's more decorative, and we can get the clearance that we need by removing that
Mhm.
and just facing it up with steel. Yeah.
How long are we looking at on the project?
About 2 weeks per door is what they're projecting. So, we would shuffle the fire trucks around so that everything would still be in service. And they would secure it, the building while they're doing the opening so that we wouldn't have unwanted visitors in, both four-legged and other. So, they would secure it and they would do it, I believe we were talking, we're spreading it out, city manager, over, the 2 budgets.
Yeah.
I heard you say, we got about 10 years left on it, pretty much.
That's my projections, about 10 years. I mean, that's gonna put that building at, what, almost 100 years old? If so, and if I'm still here, it'll be the oldest fire station I've ever worked out of.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Commissioner Adams, would it really be necessary to separate the doors? Why can't it just be open space? I mean, because
Structurally, it won't support to have one big door.
if it's steel,
The engineers,
steel.
the engineers looked at it and said it wouldn't support it.
Okay. Just makes-
Shannon, you got something? Thank you, we'll send this. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
You have a citizen's comment?
Oh, citizen comment, Mr. Duncan? Well, I got my.
Okay, I'm just trying to,
Phelps.
Oh, I see.
get my 3 minutes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
I only have a question, I'm just.
That's all right.
Did you guys discuss any price for their security? That's to keep them safe, so how much you gotta, any kind of, you didn't understand what I said? I says for their security, how much will it cost? Do you have an idea,
Thank you, man.
through the chair?
The cost of this project is $146,000. Mr.
Thank you,
Duncan.
thank you. Something wasn't that hard, was it?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, and it's only because I wasn't here earlier. I just wanted to ask, how old is the, ladder truck?
It was built in 2009,
How long we had it then?
since 2009.
2009, and we're at 2019 right now. Not last year. Yeah.
Next, we have, update, emergency repair work, utility services.
So just to give an update on the work that was done at the corner of Nolan and Highland. What we had that day was we had calls from residents on what would be the south side of Highland, right there at the end of Nolan. We got a call from them regarding no water. And what happened was the utility services workers went up there and looked at the valving to make sure that there was nothing that was wrong in that respect going to the houses from the property end, because that's the first thing you would check. Didn't see anything. They come back, and literally before they got back here, we got a call that a bus traveling west on Highland made a turn north onto Nolan and basically bottomed out. We responded, Department of Public Safety responded, Public Works and the Water Department responded, and we worked with Hassey's to get the bus out of the way so we could find out what happened. There was a water main that came from the Main Street side, so it headed south toward Highland, a 4-inch water main that broke. The water main broke, and because it washed out all the sediment up under it, it actually went into the storm drain. So the storm drain took all the water. That's why we never saw it come up. So when we did find it and we found out that was what was going on, we immediately called B&Z. B&Z came out. That was about 4:30. We also had a gas leak in there as well. So we had that, we secured that, got the gas company in there, and by 10:30 that night, water was restored. By noon the next morning, everything was put back in shape to get everything passable. The cost of that was $7,000. So that you will see a bill for $7,000 that will come through relative to that episode that we had. I wanted to give, because as the code says, if it's an emergency, to let you know exactly what happened in that instance. No one was hurt. The driver and I believe it was 3 children that were on there were removed off the bus, gotten off the bus by Sergeant Takamoto, and again they were safe, and we got the bus out of there, and like I said, it wasn't damaged that we saw. Drivable. Matter of fact, the gentleman drove it further down toward Cass Street, and like I said, by that time, within less than 24 hours, that service, the storm drain, everything was restored.
This is what in the income tax is called deemed emergency.
So I'm saying this, I don't deem that an emergency as it relates to the need to use income tax money.
Okay.
This was not a $50,000 problem. So not a $70,000. We didn't know how much it was going to be. It was $7,000. So in the budget, there is monies to accommodate that. Now, had it been a complete street reconstruction, that would have probably deemed it would have been deemed as an emergency need to go and ask for monies outside of what the budget has in it. But it was not such, so we're not going to ask, there's not going to be a request for the income tax to basically pay for it.
So they repair everything, they don't have to go back and...
The only thing you have to do is put the road part of it, the asphalt back, but the asphalt plants aren't open yet, and as soon as they open, that will be paved and it will be done.
You see,
Was, you see, a water main broke it, was it a breach in the, like getting contaminated or anything?
No, it continued to run, so as long as there's water being pushed out, it was pushed out and pushed right into the storm drain. So what ended up happening essentially was that water ended up going into the rivers. It ultimately ended up there, so no, there was not a contamination issue. We did not lose pressure in the system. The pressure continued, and luckily that it was not a bigger water main, because it possibly could have washed out more of the intersection. It was a smaller 4-inch water main.
Call it a break, was it freezing up or something?
That we don't know if it was freezing, if it was vibration, if it was settling, if it was age. We just know that it was a break in it and we repaired it. Yep. at that point, when, like I said, when we had the issue, we basically went in the emergency mode to get it done. And didn't really say, okay, what did we see, any settling or anything? We got it repaired so we could get that road back open.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, sir. In regards to this sinkhole, I'm gonna publicly apologize because I was wrong. I thought it was down there on the other end where water had ran down there for several years, up from the armory, right there where I think that street was, whatever it was the emergency manager did. It used to be an alleyway. Anyway, I was wrong. It was on the other end. Anyway, the guys, the construction company that actually did that work, I've noticed that for years, when we have a main break, that it's just a mess when somebody or whoever it is goes to fix it, and it's left messy for quite a long time. And whoever did that does very good work and very fast work and put things back the way it should be. If we could look at contracting them some type of way or using them more often, just saying.
Is that, see, that's B and Z right
Yes. It is.
Really?
Yeah. That was
Okay.
B&Z that did that.
Well, then they do a lot of work for us anyway.
there?
Correct. They
What
did-
was different about this main break than other main breaks throughout the city?
It was, so Commissioner, the main break was one that was not detected. So what I was saying was when the water, when the main split,
Mm-hmm,
the water just basically kept coming out.
mm-hmm.
It washed out the sand, the sediment up under.
Right, right.
That then, all that went into the storm drain. So you never saw it come up.
Okay, but I would think that that would make it even harder to fix, with that being the case, other than a main break has been just,
It's,
well, no,
no,
the ground gave way on this
it's
one.
easier to see when it comes up than it is one that doesn't.
Okay,
Because
okay,
had
okay,
that bus not hit it,
okay,
it would have still been there.
Okay,
It would have been a
okay.
void up under there.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions? Yes? No? $7,000?
$7,000, yes, sir.
Everybody got water and everything?
Like I said, by 10 o'clock that night, they worked till midnight on that Friday and then came back like around 9 or 10 o'clock that morning
Mm-hmm.
and worked till noon to get everything else finished up. Yep.
Those funds came out of what?
Utility services, yep, utility services, repair and maintenance, budget.
Next, we have an agenda, update income tax administrator.
Okay, just to give just a brief history of what has transpired with the income tax since its implementation back in January of last year. We went to, there's a company called Innovative that produces or makes the city tax software. The commission passed a resolution to get that software once we identified who we were going to use. And it's being used by, I believe, all of them now.
All but one.
All but one. All of the income tax cities in the state of Michigan. So we got that software, and we started taking the withholdings because withholdings started January of 2018. So the withholdings were being recorded as they came in, and so we get to the end of the year. We got to about June. We had not heard from Mr. Carpenter and Innovative, and we kept asking and calling, and we did not get the software actually installed until February of this year. I spoke with Mrs. Woodard from Grand Rapids several times, being that she has dealt with Mr. Carpenter for a long period of time, and she was just as perplexed as I was, seeing that we were spending the money. But needless to say, that it was installed, and basically training was done on the software just earlier this month, late last month, early this month. So we had no software to enter in anything. Mrs. Galladay has been recording what has been coming in from withholding and recording now what has been coming in for returns. And that money's just been deposited. So that's the number that has been given for the totals, is what has been deposited, checks that have come in. But as far as any entering in of any data, that just started. Mrs. Woodard has been here, she was here last week. Actually, she's been here for 3 weeks in a row now. Looking at the software just to make sure we got what we were supposed to have, and understanding us being new, we rely on people who have had that expertise. Mrs. Woodard has been working to basically get us to where we need to be in the software, adding the letters, doing data entry, helping us with data entry, things of that nature. So today, she was working with it, and a lot of the stuff that we should have, we didn't get. But it's good to have someone who knows what you should have. So as it relates to a income tax administrator, there has been no need to have one at this time, because again, they wouldn't have anything to work with. So now that we have that, within the next, as I told the mayor, I believe at I told the income tax committee, within the next month, we will have an income tax administrator who will work very closely with Grand Rapids and the city of Walker, who is another one of our sister income tax cities, to basically get everything rolling as we move toward April 30th, which is the date that taxes are due. So then that portion of, excuse me, the processing, enforcement, compliance, we will then be able to go forward at that point. So we will have an administrator, like I said, within the next 30 days, worst case scenario. And then we move forward with what we need to do as we get to April 30th, because then that's when the enforcement and compliance, matching up who submitted income tax to the state but didn't submit to us, then going through the process of getting them to comply, and if necessary, what legal actions we need to take, if any, to get that done. So that's kind of a ballpark update of what's going on with the income tax. And if there's any questions relative to that, I can try to answer. If not, I got my right hand here.
You said we needed some more software to get really implemented?
No. The software package that we have is capable of handling it. What needed to be added to it were certain components to make it fully functional. They basically gave us the bare bones part of it. They gave us just the city tax software, that's it. Nothing else was added, nothing else was formatted for us. So again, once we got it installed, I immediately called Grand Rapids and said, can you come take a look, make sure we got what we need? She did, and she says, you didn't. They didn't put everything there that you need, but we can help you get it by working with the stuff that you have, and we can bring stuff together to get it done. So we're getting there, and Mrs. Woodard has been here all day today, helping us get to that point.
Thank you, Ms. Woodard, for coming. You want to say something? No?
Yes. We wasn't really ready to, once it was passed and then the dates came up and we started collecting it, we really didn't have the infrastructure or the personnel. So I'm sure it was probably an overwhelming task. I guess I was just trying to figure out how we come to the conclusion of doing it out of the, pretty much out of the manager's office. What was the reason?
So the income tax, the finance director, the finance department technically doesn't do the income tax. It is basically the decision of the administrative officer, myself, the city manager, where we get it done at. And so we didn't have, outside of finance, we don't really have anybody that could do anything in that respect, having that. again, it was recording just basically John Smith, how much they submitted and what date in an Excel spreadsheet. That's it. Because this first year, we didn't have to do anything. It was just withholdings. Now going forward, we will be having to do a lot more work as we start making sure people have submitted their income tax, making sure that they do what they need to do, and informing people of what needs to be done. Last year was really a year of just collecting. That's really what it was. Now that, as you said, the daunting task of administering it starts as we get toward the April 30th date.
Deposits, did somebody have to make deposits, or they went directly to the?
Deposits were made, and that, if you remember in the audit, it was audited up through June 30th. So we were fine. So all those deposits were audited, matched, and everything was good. Now we move forward, going forward now from July 1st till next year, then we'll be audited again. So it's been audited, they've been looked at. As we start putting more procedures and stuff in place, that's what we're doing right now. Because there's different methodology to do different things. I believe Grand Rapids uses taking people to court, correct?
We use small claims and warrants.
Whereas Walker doesn't. So those are nuances that we will know. If we get, for example, how many do you do returns?
About 150,000.
Okay, so they do 150,000 returns, so that's what works best for them. Walker is closer to our size, and they do a little different, so we have to figure out which place we want to go.
We do small claims.
They do small claims, so yeah. So those are the nuances as you spoke about, Commissioner Singleton, the daunting task of what we've got to do going forward.
Commissioner Adams?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I heard City Manager Watson mention that we'll be faced with even more work once the infrastructure is in place. But who is that more work for? That's not more work for the city employees like your assistant, but that would be a job for those that we are paying yearly to take care of that, is it not?
It would be the income tax department.
Right.
Correct, yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So that's all taken care of financially within the city's COFR.
That was carved out of the operation. The operations part of it was carved out in the budget that we saw.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, because you, being the city administrator, took it upon yourself to allow your assistant to do that. Okay, I was just asking for clarity, since somebody was asking why somebody wasn't getting, if they were doing more work. Okay.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair. I'd just like to know what, I'll just say transparency, when you don't tell people what's going on. All sorts of rumors start, don't they? But, I'd like to know what is we're gonna hire an administrative person to handle that. What is that person's qualifications, and do we have a person? I've heard a rumor that we already had a person in mind. So I need to hear from you exactly what are our plans for that income tax administrator or office.
Yeah, there's going to be interviews. There are going to have to be interviews for the position. There's probably going to be there's probably going to be a clerk as well as an administrator, so that we'll have some segregation of duties in that respect. There's not really anybody that's like, oh, this is the person that's going to get it. We're going to interview people as we should for all jobs, and not just place a person in there, Commissioner.
Okay, all right. I need to hear you say it. And what kind of time frame are we speaking?
Within the next month. That's what
Within the next month.
Yeah. Within the next month, we'll have somebody in there.
Okay. Is there any other information that you can share with the people? Because I get a lot of calls and a lot of questions in the stores what do I do? How can we get that information out to the people to let them know exactly what to do? One just asked me, do I ask my employer to take it out? I said, yeah, go twist their arm.
If the employer is in the city, there's an obligation. Outside the city, it's not.
Yeah, no.
There isn't. We have a lot of courtesy withholdings for people from companies that have a lot of city residents, but you can't compel them to make them do it. So it becomes incumbent upon you to basically get the withholding information, find out how much you gotta pay it quarterly, depending on how much you make. If it's over $100, you pay it monthly. If it's less than $100, you pay it quarterly. Yeah, those are all nuances that people need to know.
So, where we are right now, nothing's been withheld out of the checks. And they would take their net amount, or what is it?
When they do their income tax, when they do file their income tax for the federal, the state, there's a local one they'll do. They'll know then what it is, because when you get exemptions, deductions, I can't tell you what that number's gonna be.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's all they need to do is when they file their taxes, they let them, they're prepared to know that there's local tax.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it any way that we could tell the people that? Find some way to let the people know?
What we can do is, as we get closer toward, well, even before then, have town hall meetings for just income tax information. Because as people file them, some people have already filed, a lot haven't. But just to get it out to let them know, here's what you need to do. Here's how you go about it. That's fine. I'm sure Jennifer would love to come and help out as well.
Well, it's not a whole lot of questions other than what do I do?
Yeah,
And who do I pay the money to?
right.
That's basically what they're asking me.
I would put their minds at ease and let them know that the first year, regardless if they owe money or not, there's no penalties. Because that's the biggest worry for people, is that there's gonna be penalties if they don't pay it quarterly. But the first year, there's a safe haven.
Correct.
So they won't get any penalties or interest, and they can take that amount once they find out in April what they owe and divide that by 4 and pay that. So they don't have to pay monthly, they only have to pay quarterly. Only businesses have to pay monthly if it's over 100.
Oh, okay. It's learning experience every day. Did you know that? Okay, then those town hall meetings are worth more than even for me. I didn't know.
We'll say March 1st, April 1st, and just run them for, a couple days a week, just to have let people know, and if they got any questions, just be more of a question and answer than anything.
Can
Right.
she repeat that? Come up
Would
to
you
the
repeat that
mic.
for
She said she wants
There is a year grace period for people to pay, so for penalties and interest. So if they owe in April, they would make their payment, but if it's over $100, they would not get charged penalties and interest for the first year. So what they would do is take that payment amount that they owe in April, divide that by 4 and pay it quarterly. So then the next year, they wouldn't risk having penalties for not paying estimated payments.
Okay. I guess my question through the chair would be, for some of us, would that come automatically, would it automatically go on our taxes or when we file at the end of the year?
So it automatically goes on your taxes if your employer is withholding for you. Otherwise,
I'm talking
it goes
some
on
of
your
us
return.
self-employed people
Right.
need to hear.
So it would go on your return as an
Okay.
estimated payment that
Okay.
you made for yourself.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm good.
I just have a question, if you don't mind. To have this information that you guys are getting right now, you guys need to get something in writing where you can tell your constituents what's going on. And when you can't explain it, you can show it to them.
Good information. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Right. Next we have, discussion the 2020 budget timeline and update.
Just, this is the time of year to start having this conversation. What I passed out to you is basically the timeline, the proposed timeline for doing the 2020, fiscal year 2020 budget. And so we began the work in January, starting with department heads giving recommendations to the city manager's office, finance director, to what they would potentially want, if anything different than last year. What we've been doing, what's been going on is now putting that together to see how much we actually can do. So April 2019, we'll have meetings with the department heads to discuss their preliminary drafts of their budgets. And then in May of 2019, what we will do is have a public hearing here for the, which is the 15th of May, at the Public Personnel and Finance Committee meeting. Have that public hearing and the draft be put out. At that point, we'll have 3 weeks, roughly almost a month. And on June 3rd, at the meeting, 2019, we will present that budget, do a budget amendments for this current fiscal year, and ask for the millage rates for the upcoming year on that day. It's just basically giving you a timeline of what's coming and how it's gonna happen.
Do the commission, they give out recommendations too?
That's that 3-week
Same
period.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question, Chair, about the process.
Process.
We got a 3-week period.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that? As an individual or as a body?
Help me, give me a little more, Commissioner.
You give us a draft or give us the budget. How do we make any changes or recommendation? Do we come as a single elected official, or do we do it as a body?
You would have to do it as a body.
Then 3 weeks. Now, everybody know I've been sitting around here for over a quarter century. I've seen the budget before, and I've seen the process. In 3 weeks, I was expecting the budget last month. Because that's what we usually do, have time to look at it. Now, we getting it 3 weeks. When do we come together again to talk about the budget?
Okay. So, in one of the things, Commissioner, is in order to put numbers together from a revenue standpoint, we gotta wait at least until we get through the income tax season. So that's one of the reasons we give a preliminary draft that late, because of the fact that the revenue numbers will be more believable, if you will.
Well, the income tax is just really a small portion, very, very small portion of the budget. And as you say, the time frame for the income tax, well, I'd rather see the rest of the budget and give me plenty of time, because really we can't do anything with that income tax money except what we agreed to.
And that's true. But your revenue, other revenue streams that come in, state share revenue, those come out at the end of March-ish. We just got Act 51. We don't know what CDBG is going to be. So that's why, again, getting those numbers together, because what we do know is that we will know pretty much what the tax will be, what the property taxes will be. But that's really, honestly, that's about a quarter of the revenue that we get. So we need to know those other numbers to give you a more solid budget that you can believe in versus kind of just making up some stuff.
Okay. Well, back to my original question. Chair, co-chair, how do we as a body come together to make any recommendations?
Can I offer a suggestion?
City manager,
What I would say, what we can do is this: we can move the approval down to the second meeting in June, and have a special personnel finance committee meeting between the May submittal and the approval, the asking for approval, so that all recommendations can be basically come through the committee to then be incorporated. Does that work, Commissioner? Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Chair.
That's what I said, it's just it's a working document.
I got you.
Okay.
Next we have, discussion finance director position. Well, we put this on there, we know we need one again, so, you know, we wanna hamper you down, we want double duty. We need to put our RFP out, or we got one.
What I would ask too, here's the thing, we've not gotten any information. There's been speculation, but there's been nothing formal about the finance director. I've not gotten a letter of resignation. I've not gotten information, anything to it. I know it's just one day that he stopped showing up.
What? Why
Yeah,
are you?
I didn't get any.
Didn't say it, no, just.
Is this new to y'all?
Mm-mm.
New to me.
That's absolutely outrageous.
Chestnut.
I never say it was that.
Oh, yeah. His question though, when he stopped showing up, I guess, when was the commission gonna be notified?
Well, I sent an email out asking that question, two of them, asking the question.
To the commission?
I asked that question, if I remember, the first one was to the commissioners, the second one was to the mayor and the mayor pro tem, asking the question, what's going on?
Can we ask,
Because
can we ask each other that?
yeah, I don't know, again, I didn't know, no, and again, him reporting to the commission, he would give that information to you, but as a courtesy, it would come to and say, hey, look, the finance director has resigned, or whatever what has happened. Because with all the information, all the access to stuff that a finance director has,
Yeah, man.
it's really bad. So what we've done is basically suspended that stuff, the access to it. And again, I don't know, moving forward, did he take a leave? Did he resign? Did he, is he on a sabbatical? I don't know. Yeah.
He didn't turn in.
We've reached out to him. And he's not responding.
What day did he leave?
He did not respond to us.
What day did he,
Something
what
wrong.
day did he leave?
Something got to be wrong.
Commissioner Henry.
That's ugly. And for it to go on this long and nobody address it is even uglier.
It's been about a week.
You see,
So,
I make a suggestion to the chair that whatever's going on, to let the financial director know that we do want him here, and we're gonna fix whatever the problem was. Maybe we can give him some time off with pay, but I wouldn't accept nothing if there's a resignation that's been presented, if there's a inkling that there's a problem, I'd suggest that we fix it. We went how long without a financial director, and the effort that this body put in to come together as a body to make it happen? We need to fight for what we want.
I guess one suggestion is a bunch of, I guess, unanswered questions or whatever. And I always believe that the commission should act, through a resolution or whatever. I know at one point there was a ad hoc committee that was put together, even I think it dealing with the search, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe do some type of, since it is a commission employee, do some type of, inquiry as to what's going on and where we go from there. That's with so many unanswered questions. I don't know.
Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Chairman Isom. This is very troubling to me because it has been over a week that I needed to speak with Mr. Clark, our finance director. And when I stopped by the office to pay a bill and to ask something of him, I was just told that he wasn't there. And I didn't know that I wasn't going to see him anymore prior to our last meeting here in the chambers. I guess I have a problem because since we went back into local control and gained the ability to actually hire a finance director with a clear understanding of who they actually worked for, which is this body that has the right to hire and fire, that if there was a problem that he would not let us know. And to hear City Manager Watson say that we got an email from him asking or letting us know, I don't know whichever one it was. Can you please pull up a date that email was sent? Because I haven't saw one. And I find it very disturbing that this is the second time, but the first one we were still in emergency management and City Manager Watson hired that person, and I'm aware of the problems. I vaguely remember the reasons that we lost that person was because they were not getting the support that they needed to get the job done. And I'm hoping that that was not the case now. But I would really like to hear from Mr. Clark because he was very good. And he was following directives when given as to how to simplify our accounts, payables, and receivables because it had been so long since I saw Brownfield name on a statement. That during the course of last month, I saw it. Fundings that came in or were released from this. I mean, I won't know when that email was sent. This is ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
Henderson.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I have a problem with somebody walking off a job and us doing an inquiry. If I walked off a job, that would be the end of my job, regardless of what the circumstances were. For somebody to actually leave and not even give you the courtesy of why they left, I do not support us sending any letter talking about why you left. He had an opportunity, if he wanted to do that, to do so. So we're saying giving somebody an opportunity to tell you why they left after they've been gone. A commission employee. So our due diligence in this matter is we need to put out another search for a finance director. The fact that he walked off and didn't say a word would be troubling, in itself for me personally. If I walked off my job, that would be the end of it. There's no coming back. There's no inquiry why. It is an end. So I would suggest we put out another RFP another request or job search for another finance director. Why would we go inquire, ask somebody why they left? The onus is on them to send us information or to give us information about, if there were issues. He knew that he could have talked to anybody. And he chose not to do so, so we're going to go spend money to inquire about why he's not here. That right there doesn't make sense. And that's not something that I would ever support, and I don't think this commission should do that. We need to hire somebody else. Thank you.
It may be a persisting problem internally.
Evidently.
I do, have privilege to some information, but it is, because of the nature of it, I would not be willing to discuss it in an open meeting right now, but
Wow.
it is some information that I believe that, the commission or whoever it is, you know, it's just as a commission employee, I believe that, it should be at least, whether you hire somebody else or do whatever, but that,
That's what we do.
information
No, it is not.
is,
You don't do it.
should be,
No
you
other
know,
job,
looked at,
no other city would ever consider that.
make a decision from there, so that's.
That sounds good.
Why did-
They're
Yeah.
unprofessional.
Absolutely.
Who would do that?
Chair.
What did you,
Based on the,
Yeah.
based on the information that was, sent to me, and like I say, I would, you know, I don't think it's appropriate right now to discuss that.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
So let's go without.
over right now, but I believe that,
Mr. Harris,
I got family
please
problems.
let
once,
us hear from.
if all the commissioners
Yeah, I wanna
see
hear
it,
I wanna hear from somebody with some answers, cause I'm not hearing no answers.
He had his hand up.
No,
Come on,
No, my only thing is, whoever that is in the back, heard that constant jabbing is picking up on the microphone. If we can have her stop, please.
It's up here too.
Mr. Duncan?
You left too soon without anything to say one way or the other, just left. As much information that he was sitting around, he just left. And you guys don't know it until today. I'm just trying to get an understanding of this, cause it's going back and forth around in my head. It's been how long since he's been gone?
I think
Through the chair.
You've been going almost, it's gotta be a month.
it's been solid for the last week and some change. 2 weeks ago, he was here,
Mm-hmm.
in and out,
Mhm.
in and out. The last week, it has been 0.
No show, no call, no show.
Wow.
Okay. Through the chair. Now, one of you guys tried to reach out to, I understand that he can't, or they can't, get in touch with him. Now, one of you guys could get in touch with him and see what really happened, or do you want to? Maybe I should ask that. Do you want to find out what happened? Because as a citizen, I'd like to know what happened to him. I thought he was a pretty nice guy, myself, personally. And I would like to know, I know for a fact, if I had did whatever he did and walked off, I wouldn't be able to come back. But he is not of my complexion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still gonna fight for him because I know right is right and damn it, wrong is wrong. So for him to just walk off and none of you guys have reached out to that man, I know he's a family man, I would presume nobody tried to find out what was the problem. Would you even try to find out what the problem was through the chair? And I'm not talking about for the city managers. I'm asking you guys to find out what happened and see if you can straighten it out. Because you don't run into good people too often.
Well, I know I work for a company.
Good work is hard to find.
You know, I work for a company myself, and
Well, I wasn't really talking about you.
no, I know. I'm talking about I work for a company. I know showing up is the first thing you got to do, and you don't show. You know.
Yeah, well,
the
I
first,
understand that.
the first
I
day,
understand that.
second day, the third day. I've done that before.
But wouldn't you wanna know something in this case?
Yeah.
Okay, but-
Nice question. Okay, I'm gonna get Dr. Time.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll preface this and then ask into the question. First of all, truth is always in the middle because there's two sides of a story, number one.
Right.
Number two, Honorable Chair, in terms of the caliber and that of that individual and of that level, knowing those individuals, even myself leaving, there's always a letter of resignation that may have not been forwarded to this body commission because of the standard. The other thing I wanted to ask about the letter, the next thing is that in terms of maintaining the standard, we know that an individual employee, regular employee, came in and hired another employee who happened to be their husband, and we didn't have the same standard. So we have to make sure that we're going to be ethical and also follow the charter, that when someone comes in and does something wrong, that they have to be held accountable. And if this young lady came in and hired a husband and it was pre-announced that he was going to be working here, and it was the city manager, because the city manager didn't even know that her mother had applied for the job and was rejected, and then she was brought in by another city official, and then she was given the job and hired a husband. So we have that precedence, and that nothing was done in that situation. And unless there's some investigation going on, investigation now needs to be, and here, if you're going to keep the same standard, and then if you're going to keep the same standard when you have an individual who said they didn't do an action, and then your pro tem said they did do the action, that information has to be, so I'm asking, not having the details, that one, was a letter of resignation submitted because of the caliber of this person, and was that forwarded to the general body, or what, for some reason you guys were, based on your charter, you function as a commission-ran government with an employee city manager, but currently from what I've seen in the records, you've been functioning as if you were Detroit, or Chicago, or New York, where you were a mayor-ran city. So therefore, that body would just be limited to a few individuals. So with that precedence, that information, I'm asking the chair that we do further investigation, because again, there's two sides of a story, and the truth is in the middle, and you're always supposed to have that individual face their accusers. So I'm asking for that standard and the answer to those questions.
Thank you. Dr. Time.
I'm just curious now, and I guess you all wouldn't know if the mayor even knew that the man was gone, the finance director. But my question is, the only thing that I've heard is something that Commissioner Singleton just made mention of. Now, if you got something that you think that we should be privy to know, and we don't, would you please take whatever action if we have to get Mr. Clark in here and go into closed session? Because it's just like everything else that we've been through historically, to keep from repeating it, we need to know what's going on, or if something in fact has gone on that we should know about, to keep from repeating it in the future.
So, City Manager, right now, is Mr. Clark an employee of Ben Harper? So is he employed or he's not employed?
That's the question I need to ask you. He does not report to me.
Basically, to answer your question, Commissioner,
I don't know, but I ran.
to answer your question, the information that I was privy to is addressed to each and every one commissioner, so that's no problem, because it was my understanding, or I guess assuming that since it was addressed to each and every commissioner, that they had it. I guess it was emailed, and as we know, sometimes emails don't always get around on a lot of stuff. So I had no problem making a copy, because it's already addressed to each and every one of the commissioners anyway, and giving it to the each commissioner that it's addressed to.
You read it?
Too long.
I don't think it'd be appropriate to read it.
Send it to us, please.
I'll just send, and then you can.
Okay, in the general orders, we step out so you can read it to the commissioners?
General ordinance.
We got to read it to the body.
On the meeting,
Can't do it
Since
individually.
it's a
going
commission,
into close.
since it's a commission employee, I just, I believe that each commissioner should have what was supposed to have been sent to them, and then
Oh, wow.
they go from there.
Honorable Chair, can,
Can you just pass it around too?
Honorable Chair, if you can, have the city clerk to make a copy and email it to the rest of us, to the rest of the body. If,
How do you get the one that nobody else got?
Give it to the ones that need.
why has it gotta be so difficult?
Cause it's our responsibility.
Working unnecessary. I don't-
Right,
Yeah.
which, if somebody walked off a job, they don't deserve to have it.
Chair, I'm totally in agreement with the co-chair suggestion that we come together as a subcommittee,
Okay.
whatever or Dr. Tynes both had the same idea, but he explained it differently. But it meant the same thing, that we come together as a subcommittee or ad hoc or whatever we wanna call ourselves, and then come back to the body and explain what we found out. And do it right now. I mean, as soon as possible.
Can I take, can I get a copy? I can get my own copy.
She going to make up.
Who was on that committee?
In terms of hiring the finance director,
Yes.
who was in the committee, that was myself, Commissioner Henry, and Commissioner Ruthie Harlison.
Who?
Ruthie,
Oh,
What?
those were the three that they did not hire.
That was, I guess, going through the process. That was, yeah,
You took over.
after, I think after you,
He was hired.
after y'all recommended
Mhm.
the other people, then it was an ad hoc,
And then
committee set up, I think,
If you don't mind, it was the Personnel Finance Committee went through the information
Yeah.
and then forwarded to them, and then they made a recommendation based on looking over the information from there.
And then you guys interviewed them.
Yeah.
You all interviewed them.
February.
yes.
Well, I guess we have to reach out to them.
can we do that,
Investigate.
Honorable Chair?
Yes.
Can we do that?
Tell what?
Do what?
Chair would have to tell us.
Reach out to them in the subcommittee and come back to the full body?
Wait a minute, you need to read this.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
Reach out to them.
I mean, I think everybody just needs to read this and then get
This
those.
is clear.
No, no,
This is clear, we need to accept it.
this is a quorum in here. We can't, we just voicing our opinions.
Well, we'll do some investigating.
It's up to them.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, I move that this body, that you guys investigate this further now that you have this information, and then could address it at a later date. And that way you can move to the next agenda item.
When is the next day?
You could possibly, call a personnel finance committee meeting back or something to discuss the next move after that, yeah.
All right, we'll do that. We'll call a special personnel finance meeting. We'll get in touch with them, investigate what's really going on, and do that. How you like that?
I'm sorry, would you say that again for me?
We'll do some investigation on what's his problem or what's going on. And
Who?
Mr. Clark,
No, who is,
I guess the personnel finance committee,
okay. It sound good to you guys?
I don't know, yeah, we gonna do it. That's case he's part of the committee, so he would need a copy of that.
got time.
If he's, of course, he's gonna do it that way. If he's-
So you three gonna bring it back to the body? frame that you can do
Then you'll
it?
have information that you can, and we just follow up, and then I think you gotta act as a body anyway, whether you know, if any action's gonna be taken for another surge, another, whatever, that's approved.
Just, based on what, we've received, I guess we need to make a recommendation to accept or deny what we received so it can be sent to the full commission for a vote.
The investigation has been done yet.
But that's what I'm saying, that's what needs to be
Yeah.
happening. There's
Yeah.
no investigation that needs to happen. Based on what we've received, we need to send a resolution to accept what we've been given.
But
This is
that's-
clear and concise.
But that's only a partial group here, that everybody
Point of
has
order,
received.
point of order. What we've received is clear and concise. So,
No,
Okay.
let's go to the full
Everybody
body
got their own.
for a vote to accept.
So,
no.
I'm hearing one thing and understanding two.
Mm-hmm.
So, I see this is precise,
It's clear.
but I also see a possible internal problem. And it's our problem, the body's problem. So I'm still agreeing that we do what the charter says we have to do,
Mhm.
inquire.
All right.
Inquire and bring back and see if it's something that we really need to fix or just check off. Whoa.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, we're in agreement.
Yeah.
All right.
This
Next
is
on the
contrary
agenda.
to what I've been told in this room.
Next we have, resolution repair work to elevator.
Thank you, Chairman. What you have here, I got this on Monday, and it's from our elevator company, Kone,
Mm-hmm.
regarding the elevator that we have here at City Hall. Kone is the only passenger elevator company on this side, in the state of Michigan, we're on this side of the state. There's a commercial one, but they don't do passenger elevators, so they kind of got a monopoly on this thing. But they do our inspections and things of that nature, and what they noticed was that there was an issue in the, what is called the jack, which is a seal around the cylinder that's in need of replacement due to oil is starting to leak out. Technician monitor oil level on every visit via a catch bucket in the elevator pit. It was during the last visit that it was discovered that more oil than normal had accumulated in the bucket. The work necessary to repair the jack would involve a team removing the existing packing, cleaning out the oil glands, installing new packing, adding oil to the hydraulic tank, and clearing any excess oil in the pit and drip pan. The cost of the repair is $4,011. And you see that there is attached the cost estimate from Kone, as well as an explanation of what the replacement entails.
How's the safety on that elevator,
It has caused, when you, in the last couple months, I'll say since the beginning of the year, what happens is as you get up to the top, you'll hear it, you'll hear a kind of a vibration. That's what this is. That's what this is. And so they basically noticed it, sent us a notification, like I said, on Monday, which is why I asked that it be added to this committee for tonight because of the urgency of it. I think this is something we need to get done expediently.
When can they come in?
As soon as we basically give them the okay to do it. It'll be a vote on it, but like I said, they'll keep coming in until then. But this is, like I said, was sent on Monday.
The elevator, it'll be down for.
It'll be down probably for the better part of a day, whenever they decide to do it.
How much?
$4,011.
I'm the only one riding that big thing, and it's scary.
No, you're not.
Yeah, so like I said, they sent it and sent pictures of what they're gonna do and explanation of what needs to be done.
Often that service.
Every quarter. It's a quarterly service, yeah.
Commissioner Adams?
Thank you, Uncle Chair. Before I jumped up here, I thought it was the elevator in the armory. Will these same people be, anyway, is this work that needs to, the elevator that needs to be repaired, is this got something to do with the inspection thing that's missing? And been missing for almost 3 years?
This is that what you're talking about, Commissioner, is a license that is on file with the licensing and regulatory agencies.
Okay, so
No
it
comments
hasn't
on
been
this law.
updated? It hasn't been updated? What's going on with that?
It's on file, updated on file with Laura. They
Okay,
haven't sent out a certificate,
okay.
but this is maintenance.
Something that has to be done before.
This is
okay.
quarterly maintenance that is done on the elevator.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you let us know when they're working on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Via email?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't make it a Monday.
We'll try to do it on Thursday or Friday. Yeah, when it's kind of, all right.
Oh, yeah. They know.
Next we have,
That's it.
Oh,
That's it.
oh,
Commissioner Adams had a few minutes to, what is that? He said,
the matter I sent you an email.
I didn't.
Yes, I don't know what the problem seems to be. And I'm not pleading for myself because I'm going.
Okay.
I'm gonna take care of mine and get my reimbursement later. But I wanted to make sure that those others that wanted to go could attend to tour Manchester Bidwell as well.
Yes.
And my thing is, me, all the Brownfield Authority board members that went on this excursion to gain and gather this information and bring it back into this community with the hopes of starting up some training, this was the perfect thing. And it still is. But they insist that we come out and tour their facility. Somebody from Michigan Works went out there. Our ex-board member, Captain Turner, went out. They've toured the facility. They've gotten some information from it and brought it back and tried to replicate it. That's not good enough for me. I want what I saw going on in other communities because I know that this is a gem and that we can do better. That we can do better. And I'm tired of everybody asking, when are we going to have our own, when we come together and work together to gain our own? And stop relying on others to do it for us and us settling for crumbs. We need to put, I don't know where that document is, or is that actually a policy of the cities? I don't even remember where I got that document from. I was just throwing away papers that I've had for the last 20 years and ran across it. It's like it just jumped up at me. It's a document about a policy, a credit card policy for the city of Benton Harbor. And we ran into this, well, we never ran into the problem because every time we went to a conference to gather information across country, it was taken care of. Now I just ask what the problem is. That the commissioners and whatever Brownfield Authority board members that decide to go, what's the problem that the city can't get a card, make arrangements, and be reimbursed just like they wait for reimbursements for everything else?
Can we vote on this to?
We voted for it all to happen.
You're right.
But I want to know why the city of Benton Harbor can find every other way to spend money and not do so for the city's elected leaders. And the money has been set aside in the brownfield for reimbursement. What's the problem?
Stephen, speak on that.
I'm sorry, I just walked back in, but
Brownfield reimbursement for going on conferences. And,
We've had the conversation
the
with
Brownfield.
Mr. Watson. The brownfield, the city of Benton Harbor reimbursing the brownfield upon making plans for the venture out to Manchester Bidwell.
I don't think it's the issue of that. The issue is there was no discussion as to how it was gonna happen.
What do you mean?
There was no discussion, are you talking about taking the plane? Are you talking about
We're
riding?
talking about flying.
Again, nobody.
Okay, but that's why I hate it when somebody try to make me sound stupid and look stupid.
No.
I've only been talking about it for the last 15 years.
Commissioner Adams, that conversation happened with the Brownfield Board. The commission asked the Brownfield Board to basically pay for a trip. They agreed.
Okay.
So the first assumption was that Brownfield was gonna handle everything. Then Brownfield bounces it back to us and says, we're not gonna do it.
Okay.
So let me finish.
Let's just take care of it now.
They bounce it back and says, we're not gonna do it.
Okay, instead of us going back and forth, why can't we just take care of it now?
No, here's what I'm trying to understand. Here's what I'm trying to get to. It's no problem doing things, but we gotta have some direction.
Exactly.
To just say, we're going on a trip, you got $10,000.
I've had this in the, Planning Economic Development Committee. Okay? And it may have been the one that you missed.
Again, like I said, there was no
Let's do this.
plans made.
Okay, let's do this.
Other than just say we'll get.
Okay, let's do this, because we were set to go March 25th, but I moved the date after talking to Miss Lynn up at Manchester Bidwell.
Okay.
If our acting city clerk can move or add an item agenda to the Planning Economic Development Committee meeting, and Darwin get together a resolution for the city to incur the cost, and if we could get your help to make the plans for those that are going.
Again, it's not the issue of
What
the
is
city
it?
paying for it.
What's the issue?
We don't know how you're trying to go. That's what I'm saying.
Well, then we'll have that conversation during that meeting. How about that?
That's fine. Again,
Okay.
it's just the lack of direction because
Okay.
again, like I said, were people driving? Were people flying? Were people on buses? Nobody said anything.
Okay, well, we're just gonna worry about the ones that have actually spoke up that says that they wanna go.
And who is that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the Brownfield Authority Board members
Okay.
know who they are.
Okay.
And none of the commissioners has said anything other than Commissioner Henry.
And
Nobody else has said
so that's what I'm saying.
Clerk got a list.
That information, who got it?
The clerk got a list of the.
Because again, I don't know.
Well, she won't be back until
the
Friday.
intricacies of what we're talking about. Who's going, how they're going, when are they going? That's the part that we don't know. That I didn't know.
Okay.
Shame on you.
I do not know.
Shame.
That's just shame.
And I can't, I'm not clairvoyant,
If
I'm
you
sorry.
could,
So y'all fly there?
yes,
Flying?
of course, we're flying to Pittsburgh. Who would drive?
That's the same conversation.
And it's just gonna be a couple of days because it's a big facility.
Oh, just not one day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Can you
And
do
if I
that
decide to
this-
stay a week, I'm gonna pay my own way.
Can you do that this month, to Commissioner Adams?
I'm sorry.
Can you have that conversation this month?
Yeah, we're going to, next week, next Wednesday. We're gonna finish it, but I would like, and your counterpart is, well, your co-chair has left. If in fact, if we need you to set a special meeting, to okay the city to take care of this, we're looking at the end of April, okay? Because Brownfield should have a meeting coming up because it's been canceled and canceled and canceled for the last past 4 or 5 months.
That's Brownfield,
Or close.
Brownfield funding this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, they set aside some money to reimburse the city
Oh,
of the costs incurred.
all right. Thank you, Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, sir.
Hard work. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you everybody for coming out. Drive safe. Go watch some basketball.
Oh, who's right?
Everybody got